Well, hello all. Welcome back. So today I thought that I would actually mix it up a little bit with some stories. So I'm going to tell you guys a very crazy roommate story that I have for you. So keep in mind, a lot of the names in the story has been changed for privacy reasons. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it. So to tell the story, I must backtrack on how this family came to live with us. So my stepdaughter Jessie came up to her father and I to let us know that her friend and her parents were staying at a hotel, and they must leave the hotel, and because the reason why they were staying at a hotel is because they got evicted from their apartment. So she came up to us and told us about it, and my husband and I had talked about it, and we said, okay, go ahead and bring them by. We'd already met Kelly. We'd already met her, but we never met her parents. So when we were first introduced to Bart and Martha, Bart was very cool about us and everything. We liked him right away. We liked Martha right away. So we were just like, oh, let's go ahead and bring you guys in. And we did tell them that while they're staying at the house, we do expect them to pay rent to us, and they said yes, but it was only going to be temporary. It was only going to be a few months, but that ended up being a few years. Now, I'm not going to say the whole time they stayed with us it was bad, because honestly it wasn't. We all had very nice conversations with Bart and Martha. When my stepdaughter felt like she couldn't talk with her dad or me, she would talk with Bart and Martha. She kind of considered them as a second set of parents and everything. And both Bart and my husband would bond as fathers. So, and I can't really say I bonded much with Martha, but we would chat every now and then. Fast forward to May of 2020. So by this time, Bart and Martha had been living with us for 3, maybe 4 years. My husband wakes up to multiple text messages saying the most outrageous things from Bart. He said things like, to not worry, they will be out of here soon. I'm hearing messed up things. You want us out of here? Like multiple accusations to us that we were saying. And keep in mind, these text messages were around 3 o'clock in the morning when we were all sleeping. Then he started saying other outrageous accusations, like my husband or I were threatening to hit one another, and then Bart thought we were accusing him of sexual harassment, which none of us did. Then he said we have cameras in our house, up in the lights, in the vents, in the smoke detectors. So that day, he and Martha left to go stay at a hotel, and I didn't want them to come back. I did not want them to come back, but out of the goodness of my husband's heart, he had allowed them to come back. A few days later, Bart comes up to me and tells me to check my bank account because I'm going to have a big deposit coming in. That worried me and that freaked me out at the exact same time, because it's like, what are you talking about? Why would that happen? Because of that, my husband told Martha that Bart has to leave as soon as possible. Not necessarily that day, but he needs to leave as soon as possible. But he did leave that day. So as far as I know of to this day, I don't know if he found, I don't believe he found help at all, but I hope he gets it. Fast forward 10 days later. This is around June-ish now. Well, this is around June, late June. Martha started to show erratic behavior by screaming at us, threatening to call CPS on us, etc. She kept on saying she wanted us to evict her and give her a 60-day notice because she's been here for a very long time. We called the police twice on her. The first time it was because her and Bart were blocking the driveway, and Bart was trying to pick a fight with my husband in the driveway. And they were like screaming at him while he was in his car. And he called 911. He told them what was going on, and we ended up like having this whole discussion with the police and telling them what had happened and everything. And they basically had suggested that day that we get restraining orders against both of these guys. So we ended up doing that the next day, and but back to the previous day, to the day that we first called the cops. Earlier in the day, I was trying to feed my daughter. I was trying to make her dinner or lunch. I can't remember. Yeah, it was lunch. And my daughter at this point was about 15, 16 months old. I want to say 16 months old. And I was holding her on one side, and all of a sudden Martha just comes right at me and just starts like yelling at me. I did tell her, you know, I don't want to argue with you in front of my kid. And she started telling me that I disrespected her in front of her daughter, and I said, I never once have done that. I don't know what you're talking about. And it was probably wrong of me to engage in this, but at the exact same time, I was trying to protect my own kid by having her like in my arms. And the entire time that I was dealing with this person yelling at me, my daughter was like gripping my arm, like gripping the back of my arm. And I was trying to put the pan away, and by this time our other roommate, Shelly had walked around and was on this side of me. So I had her on this side, and then I had the Martha on the other, and I had my daughter on my left side. So I was brought up that when you are talking with somebody, you should actually turn and make eye contact with them. And I shouldn't have done this, but I turned and I had a hot pan in my hand, and she immediately accused me of trying to burn her with my pan. And I was like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to move this out of the way, and I didn't want to hit Shelly with it either. But it's like, whoever's talking to me, I'm turning in your direction. I just happen to have a hot pan in my hands, but I'm not trying to use it as a weapon. So I put the pan down into the sink. Shelly had told me that she'll wash it for me because I'm getting like yelled at by this woman. And I take our food, I take the big bowl of food, and I go back up the stairs with my daughter in my arms. And then she came back out of her room, Martha did, and just started yelling at me again. Basically like saying, like accusing my husband of the most stupidest things, and accusing me of the most stupidest stuff. And I was just like, this is not good. So of course we ended up calling the police later on that day, and that was the first day that we called the cops on them. Yeah, and you know, like she was, and my daughter was pretty scared about that. That's the reason why she was like digging her nails right into my arms. basically I was also just trying to move that pan out of the way so then my daughter didn't have to, wasn't going to reach for it, because she was at that age where she was reaching for things, things that she shouldn't have, things that were dangerous for her. So, you know, I was also trying to move it out of the way, but then when someone's addressing you, it's like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, I was, yeah, I mean, it was not ever intentional to burn somebody with a hot pan, so I don't know why she all of a sudden thought that. Like, she didn't actually realize that, it's like she was so mad and she didn't actually realize, oh, she has a baby in her hands, maybe that's the reason why she's trying to move the pan out of the way. But yeah, so anyway. So she ended up leaving with Bart that day to go somewhere, I don't really know where. So she came back the next day. And we did go to the courthouse to file restraining orders against her and Bart during that time, or the next morning. And we left pretty early, so, you know, we didn't actually see her when we left, but we saw her car when we came back in. So we just went along with our day, and of course, my stepdaughter had just got back from being at her, like visiting with her mom, and she had come back and she was doing her laundry. And I guess Martha had took her stuff out of the dryer when the dryer went off, but they were still damp, and Jessie had told her, you know, I don't want anyone touching my stuff. And then right when that had happened, according to Jessie, Martha had walked back into her room, but then walked right back out and just exploded at her. And they were very loud. They were both really loud. I thought that I don't think Martha's that stupid enough to actually, like, hurt Jessie, but it sounded like it was becoming that. So, so we called the police again. And they suggested to also get cameras. So basically, I just find it very ironic that the thing that they were accusing us, that Bart was accusing us of in the first place, we ended up getting. But we kind of had to, because you know, it was very important that we protect ourselves and protect us against these people who, you know, we thought were very cool, ended up being just very nuts, is what I'm going to say. But as it turns out, Martha had restraining orders against all of us too. All four of us. She filed the most ridiculous reasons on a restraining order that I've ever heard, and I won't get into what those reasons were, but one of them being, oh, this person's giving me dirty looks. Oh, there's not enough room in the fridge, or some stupid, very, very ridiculous things. Oh, I can never do my laundry. They're always doing their laundry. We had a court date with all of us in the courtroom. Martha's on one side, the four of us are on the other. My husband is sitting in the very front on that bench. And Bart didn't show up. There was a ruling already. Basically, he got a default ruling for a restraining order, and so to this day we still have a restraining order against him. In the court document, it's supposed to be, or in the order that we had, it's supposed to be like she called it a civil restraining order. Like, we have to be like very civil with each other the entire time. Don't raise our voices. No, you know, not. We basically have to be like civil with each other until Martha can move out. And she did say that she didn't want to move out because she just didn't have anywhere to go, but she has she has applied for like housing or something like that, so then she can leave. When the judge was asking each of us like what we had all thought of the situation, I flat out told her, I told the judge, I have, you know, we have a young daughter. By this time she was 17 months old. I was like, we have a young 17-month-old daughter, and she's soaking up everything like a sponge. And I just feel like with the environment that Martha had caused, it's very hostile, and her and the erratic behavior is just, I don't want my daughter to soak that up and then have this environment just change for her. I don't want this kind of thing for my kid. I mean, it's all true. I mean, it's literally all true. We had to get her out of there. It was getting really bad. Martha ended up leaving the day that the judge said for her to be out of the house by. She had left a ton of hers and Bart's things, and she did leave her key. She didn't exactly like tell us that she was going to come back for any of this stuff, so she ended up just leaving. She used the vacuum cleaner for the first time in forever to vacuum up the room, which I was very shocked about, considering that I'd never actually heard her use the vacuum cleaner before. We had not seen her and Bart since then, thank God. But if you were wondering this entire time what happened with Kelly, she had moved out maybe like a month or so prior to when everything started happening. So she wasn't there the whole time, but I'm pretty sure she did hear about it. So, you know, the reason why I tell this story, it's basically to show that mental health is a big deal. When the situation got scary for us, we just did what was best for our daughter. Both of them had refused to admit that they had any problems or issues, and yet they were expressing those problems, issues in an erratic, hostile, scary way. And we just wanted to protect our daughter and ourselves. So, could the situation be handled differently? Maybe. Maybe it could have been. But everything does happen for a reason. Okay, guys. That's where I'm going to cut it. This story definitely wears you out when you talk about it a whole lot. That's it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.